Welcome to Two Gents, where two seasoned gents take on the hard truths of life, success, and responsibility. In a world where the rules don't bend for us, these gents believe in doing the work, owning the struggle, and inspiring others to take action. So, pull up a chair.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to Two Gents Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ron Spikes. I'm just out here tonight by myself. Byron Glass and Pastor A.F. Riggins is doing Bible study tonight. Byron Glass is taking care of his business. So I just want to say I'm out here by myself, but I'm going to jump right into it because tonight you might have looked at the title and you might have got things a little bit confused or something like that. But tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things because I think that the way, and I know that the way ICE is being deployed is wrong. I know that what's going on, and I know the reputation that they're developing is something that we should really be concerned about because, you know, let's just jump right into it. We're talking about ICE, not the rumors. We're talking about ICE. Not the rumors, not the fears, just the facts. You know, because for years America has argued about this agency without ever defining what it's actually supposed to do. And when a country doesn't define a mission, when you don't define what a group is supposed to do, and then they get out there and they go out on their own, it's almost like they own like a dog without a leash. They just run in any kind of way, any which way that they want to. It's going to always become a problem. You know, we continue to go down this path, and I think it's happened within the last year. It happened within the last year where we didn't have leadership in the right place. Our leadership let us down. They put ICE out there and they didn't really give them a mission, and so they're interacting in between being a military and being a police, and then they acting like they got more authority than the police that's out there. And there's nothing wrong with that if nobody gives you a definite mission to go by. But we need to kind of curtail that. And the promise that I'm gonna make you tonight is something that I'm gonna lay it out. I'm gonna lay out the truth. ICE was built for, and where it failed. And the simple modern fix that protects the public and protects the officers. Their engagement is one thing that's really off. The engagement that they do. You know, I'm gonna say this like this. Drop one in the comments. Just drop one if you agree or you disagree. Say two. You don't have to do anything else. Just push one or two, and then maybe I can go from there. But I want to see where the room is. This kind of helps me stay on track where I'm supposed to be. So I need to set this up because I think that we letting ICE fail us. The people that's in charge of ICE, I don't even think they know what their mission are because it changes from day to day, and I think that whoever's in charge on site is who they interacting. And that's where the problem is. It's not even about politics. It's not even about the left or right. But what it is about is their mission and who's in charge, and nobody's spilling it out to them. And so tonight I just want to get you in a position where you can kind of understand what they could be doing, what they should be doing to support in their roles. And let me just say this, because I need to drop this in right here. You know, ICE has always been there. ICE has always been there. Down here in the South, we have many job sites. This is probably one of the places in the U.S. at one time when you went out there and you didn't see too many people that wasn't Hispanic on the job. When you rolled up and down the roads and you look at the repair crews, you seen a lot of Hispanics out there. I remember traveling early on, a while back, when I came back to the United States, and I was like, man, what's going on with the work crews? I don't see any blacks. I don't see any very few whites out there, and they were normally sitting in air conditioned trucks telling everybody else what to do. But it was very few blacks. I noticed that one of the things that I started to notice after a little while is that after this started happening, and you start looking around at those work crews and different stop, the flagmen that stand at the intersections and stuff like that, you start seeing a sprinkle of color coming into it. Now, if you go to somewhere like Alabama, Georgia, and on the other end of the South, in that area, you're gonna see some blacks out there on the road doing the road work, and that was something that I appreciated early on. So, as I go through this, I hope I don't make people mad. My objective is not to make people mad, but kind of put some stuff in places that we could think about where these guys could be used, not just running up on somebody on the street, harassing them or anything like that because they don't look like them, or some of them do look like them, but they still run up on them. And some places that they do go, what can we say? We know what's going on. I'm gonna give some examples, and we're gonna go from there. I'm gonna lay it out plain and clear. By the time I get off this show, I hope that you have a definition of what I'm trying to do. And I thought of this. I said, I was a soldier, and I remember being out there. But the one thing that they tend to give soldiers is orders. What you can do and what you can't do. What it seems like they did with ICE is they put them out there, and they put them out there, and they put every one of them in any city that you see them in, any area that you see them in. It's like they isolated from their command, their post or whatever they're supposed to do. So I'm gonna kind of lay this out, and when I lay it out, I want to kind of walk you through this thing because I think it's important that we get this, that we kind of get a strategy. I see my it's just a little bit too big. So, it says high packing sales strategy. I don't know what's going on here. We need ICE, not just for not like this, not the way it is right now. If you look at that picture, you see ICE out there. ICE is represented in the form where they basically arresting citizens and question. You don't know if they're innocent or whatever, but the current form in which ICE is operating is not helping anybody. So what we gotta hear. We gotta hear the incidents, the trial facts, the dates, and the events that led up to where we at. These are publicly documented incidents that shaped ICE foundation reputation for what it is, where it's at right now, and the things that's going on, and how people publicly see ICE currently in its current configuration. Unless you change it, it's not going to change. Anything's not going to move. But ICE could be used in different factors. Under the zero tolerance, that means that they got immunity above anything else that they do. You can't operate an organization like that. You got so many things that's going on in America that you can't operate an organization like ICE and just give them total immunity from whatever they do. Policies of children being separated from their parents when they first got started. ICE, CBP, and other ORRs were all involved in the transfers and detainment of people. And this became one of the biggest, most criticized immigration information that's out there. Their history, their actions that they took. And this happened April through June of 2018. That was one of the first things that laid into their reputation to help them build up where they are. The family separation crisis. Parents didn't know where their children were. And one of the incidents that I'm gonna go through, you go to work in a big facility, and you don't even get a chance to go get your kids. This is the second thing that was lined up. Mississippi workplace. 680 workers detained in coordinated efforts, coordinated raids, multiple food plants in Mississippi. So you pick up those people in Mississippi and you going in there with your uniforms and your guns and you got all authority and you just totally disrespecting the business that they work for. And then in the end, I want you to think about what I'm saying now. You didn't say you went in there and talked to the owners of the place. You didn't say you brought them to the facility. You didn't say you did any of that. But you went in there and harassed the workers that was in there. You went in there and harassed the workers that was in there. Is that right? Yeah, that's your job. I ain't going to disagree with you. That's the function that they got you in right now. But, I think that more emphasis needs to put on the owners of those people that hire those people, that put them in those positions. You're not doing that. You're not going to the top of the top of the problem. You're going to the bottom, at the bottom. And somehow you missing the whole picture as an ICE agent. I think that one of the one thing that you gotta realize is that their checks they're not there because they're not getting paid. They're not in those workplaces because they're not getting paid. Their check has to come from somewhere. Someone has to have some money down the line, but you're not concerned about them. You're not concerned about the upper management. You're not concerned about the people that put them in their place. You're not concerned about the people that was in HR that's supposed to check their documentation. You don't do that. You want to show up because somebody calls you in. This was an incident that happened in August 7, 2019. I'm just walking you through. Local schools report the children left with parents not picking them up on time. So I guess I guess they were calling you wondering what was going on, and you went out and picked up the kids too. I don't know. I've never been in that position, but I know if they was in there working and you came in and surprised them in the workplace, that was wrong, man. That you can't. I ain't saying you can't do it because you do have the authority to do it, but it's the way in which you enact your business. It raised questions. You have everybody looking at you. The media gonna look at you. Everybody's gonna point a finger at you. So every time they see that little police ice or whatever that's on the back of their shirt or that badge that they stand behind, people gonna say, "Oh no, you don't scare me." Stop using scare tactics. Georgia detention centers, September 2020. A whistleblower told the conditions in which y'all were keeping those people in. And I don't understand how you work for a federal agency or how you go home to your family and you treat human beings like they pigs. It's a certain standard for anybody. I'm sorry, our standards are high in America. I ain't say you have to give air conditioning, order them pizza and all the rest of that, but it's the way in which you treat people. They did a federal investigation on that. And they found the conditions that maybe what you're looking at in this picture. Nobody cleaning it up, nobody providing trash cans for the people. The people are just being pushed around like the cattle. And you got to have respect for whoever you doing this with. And some people say, they shouldn't have been here in this country illegally. This is why I say you shouldn't have bought that lettuce or tomatoes or whatever that was on that shelf that was processed by them. It may not be there. And I think that's eventually where we're right now. If we don't change this thing, if we don't get a hold of what's going on in this country, it's going to be one or two things happen. They're going to price you out. And the price is already going up. And we know who to blame for that. You don't think through a process. You just go out there and act what you think is right. And we ain't going to continue to function as a country like that. I don't want to get sidetracked, but I just wanted to break this down. The reason why I'm doing this, because, 2021, 2023, street detainment complaints. Multiple cities reported ICE agents detaining and individuals without clear communication, rolling up like you the mafia. I'm here to take you. You don't have a choice. No, even when the police come out in a raid and they break down the doors, the first thing they're going to do is tell the people, look, this is what I want you to do. Either I want you to lay down on the floor, I want you to sit down, I want you to do something, and then we're going to act. We ain't going to just run up there like we're on the football field, going out to as a right tackle, left tackle, whatever, and just tackle them and then try to get them to respond. It don't make no sense. You already know where they're at. You got them right in front of you. Why are you going to do anything like that? That's just crazy. Then you're going to accuse them of running over you. Hell, don't nobody know where you at. If you're in that little badge and you got on that little uniform and you got ice on your shirt, if I'm not an illegal alien, I got a right to leave. Doesn't matter what's going on. I do have a right to leave because I'm not being detained. You know, a number of people. This chart just shows the number of people that was in detention centers across America through 2020, 2021, and 2024. There's some red areas up there on that thing, and I'm gonna lean up because I need to see my eyes so I can see this chart. Phoenix, 197. San Antonio, Texas, 165. Harlingen, Texas, 85,000. New Orleans, Louisiana, 77,000. Houston, Texas, 57,000. El Paso, Texas, 46,000. San Diego, California, 42,000. Dallas, Texas, 36,000. New York City, 24,000. Miami, Florida, 22,000. I'm just calling out. It's some numbers behind there, but I just want to give you an idea. Atlanta, Georgia, 19,541. Chicago, 11,888. I called out those numbers and I pointed out those different places because you can see where majority of them were working were in the South. Most of them was in Texas. The most citizens was in Texas, other than if you add up the Texas number all together with all the cities that was there. And Harlingen, I think Harlingen is just a city that produces produce and stuff in that area. They may have been in Harlingen, but I can guarantee you that it was in some type of surrounding area where they caught them around producing produce or working somewhere in one of those factories or something, you know. Because if you look at Chicago had 11,000. That's a big difference than what Phoenix has of 197,000. If you look at San Antonio, Texas, Harlingen, Texas, 65,000. And here's the one that gets me because I haven't been to Chicago other than being at Chicago Airport, and that's been a while. But 11,888 is detention people in Chicago. Do you know what the weather's like in Chicago? I'm just saying. I mean, some of this stuff is just crazy. So I really want to get all the way here because this is where we're gonna kind of break it down. This is where we're going into the facts that's out there. January through March 2024, TSA staffing crisis. TSA shortages. It had lines 5 hours long. They were showing people going round and round. If you look at this picture, TSA had people that was out because of the country was on a shutdown, partial shutdown. They was picking and choosing who they wanted to pay and who they didn't want to pay. You know, ICE, they put them in there, but they wasn't trained for it. But what this kind of revealed, and it shows you something that most people that's on the other side, they're not paying attention. This is an opportunity for this not to happen no more. Because even during normal times, and I'm going to break it down a little bit further after I get here, but I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Just say that a TSA agent is sitting on a line. Do you know what he has to do if he has a disruption in this line? He has to call another TSA agent a group of TSA agents, whatever they were doing over there, they now have to come over here and take care of this situation, or either monitor it. Even if the person's not cutting up, they can come there and monitor to make sure that the person doesn't do anything out of the way or anything like that. But what if they didn't call TSA? What if it was a group of individuals that was there, that was their job was to be present, and if there's a problem where a person needs to be escorted off the line or anything that's going on, what if they could just make a call and that agency just stepped up, took them off the line? What if they had a big incident? Instead of involving all those TSA agents that's slowing down the line, what if they just had somebody that was standing there and that was their sole purpose was to be part of the security force to get people out of there and take them to wherever TSA is going to process them in the back. It takes that load off that line. It keeps the line moving. Not in times like this. I mean, I understand part of the reason why they deploy TSA, because as humans, we have a problem. When we get in large groups, somebody can step on your foot. Somebody could say something out of the way. People want you to move. They're already frustrated and all the rest of that. So they standing there in those lines and seeing those guys on the side of them. Yeah, I could say that they supported that line, that they kept things moving. They kept incidents down. You know, that's the kind of thing that I want to get to. I want to kind of highlight some positions, some places where they can be used in a positive way, and that's what I need to get to. So but first I need to let you know. I needed to let you know a little bit of the history of how we got here. See, most people don't want to hear. They look at that thumbnail I put up and say, "No, I don't want TSA." But here's what I say: we need TSA because it's a lot of roles that they can fill. Their mission is not defined enough. It's too broad. I just say it's not defined enough. They want to take on the role. I told you about a role that where they at in between. They're in between being a military person and the police. You can't be in that role. You got to be one or the other, or else you're gonna end up in the same situation that you're in now. See, because under military rule, they have the authority to do whatever they want to do at that particular time because they're soldiers and they're trying to take control. As a ICE agent, you assume that you have the same authority as the military. You assume that you have the same authority as the police. So that's the reason why y'all have clashes, because your mission, and I'm going to say it again, your mission is not defined. It hasn't been defined because you overlapping with a lot of agencies that's out there that's doing the same thing. You overlapping with Border Patrol. You wouldn't have this reputation if you have a clear rule of engagement and you was put into a place. They hired you, and the role that they hired you for, I know they had a definition out there, but they didn't have a purpose for you. You know, most of y'all have never faced a situation where you had to deal with a rowdy person or a citizen. What they told you was you got full. Don't worry about it. You got. Basically, they told you're immune from anything out there. When you found out that you wasn't immune from anything out there, or that's when you start putting on those masks. You shouldn't have to wear a mask. And I realize you got to go home to your family and anybody else, and you don't want anybody coming after you. Maybe you shouldn't have took the job. They told you what you was going to be doing from the beginning. You read the media. You read the media reports that was out there? Because I showed you how far it went back. That was one of the reasons why I brought it up, the history. Because I needed you to understand how far it went back. This didn't just pop up overnight. This reputation has been out there. But see, I'm going to help you tonight. One of my things is I'm going to help you. You can't even go in there and interact with TSA as an ICE agent. You can support. You're not going to ever replace them, but you can go in a support role to help them do a few things that they needed that additional help. You're a gap person, but you can't be a gap person if you don't know what the rules of engagement are between you and TSA agents as a supporting role. You know, we always call out the National Guard when we have these incidents pop up around the country. What if they just redefine your role where you could, instead of sending in the National Guard and causing all that confusion, what if they just sent the TSA in to those areas? They're not there to harass. They're not there and define their roles. They tell them that you're there to help keep the peace. See, I think that the problem is here's the biggest problem that we got with TSA. You give them a gun and you give them a badge, but you don't give them rules of engagement. Because if you gave them good rules of engagement, they probably wouldn't be in the situation that they are right now. I think that and each one of these I'm gonna break down later, but I think we should give them we should take away some of those guns. We should use TSA, we should use ICE like they use those police in London on the streets. If that's the way you want to deploy them, give them a billy club, give them a walkie-talkie, have somebody with a gun close in case anything goes wrong. Deploy them in that style, and you already got a model which is out there. London has people on the streets that's helping the police. They have police out there that's doing their job, but they don't have guns. They have access to people with guns in a short distance away, but they ain't walking up and down the street with no guns in their hand. I'm going to break that down so hopefully you can understand. ICE can be used as a transfer tool. You know, you go out into an area and the police out there and you have some low threat cases or something like that. You could basically tell ICE, hey, you go ahead and handle this. That keeps the police doing their job. That keeps the police where they continue to go. You know, you just have to redefine the mission, and then maybe people can understand the reason why we still need ICE. But if it continues to go like we are, they're like a rampant dog out there. No mission, no nothing. We just go out there and enforce it any way that we can. And the American public's just going to have to deal with it. You never take away their job as an immigration person. Never take away their job. And that's not what this is about. I'm not trying to take your job. I'm just trying to help them understand the other places in which you could actually be involved at, the things that you have the ability to do. And I'm gonna try to break that down in just a minute. You know, like I say, the mission is a problem. The mission is a problem. The things that no rules of engagement. If we could just clarify those things, we probably wouldn't have a problem at all. But the problem is that nobody wants to clarify it. Everybody wants to Everybody wants to say, hey, this is what they told me to do, and that's what's happening. I'm gonna kind of go into this. I'm gonna try to get into it where everybody can see it, where I can spell it out to you. The mission. I'm gonna go through it one by one because I don't want to miss anything. The mission is a problem. ICE mission is broad, unclear, often misapplied. The lack of clarity leads to an overreach problem, public fear, miscommunication, inefficiency, mission clarity, public safety is at risk then. You know, those kind of things. Here, ICE is TSA support, not replacement. TSA doing detainment, like I just mentioned. So doing a detainment thing that's in the airport or something like that, you could have ICE agents standing on the side. You could tell them, hey, look, I got this problem. I need to get this guy off the line. Can you escort him to other TSA agents? It gives you an extra body that's there, that's already getting paid, since you're going to use them anyway. You say that they got to be deployed. Define that mission where not only do they go to the airport when TSA agents is not there, but they help and aid TSA agents during the time when normal times when they have a problem, they can keep the TSA people focused on their mission. I should just be a backup. And if we run into the same thing that we ran into them, some ICE agents could be trained to scan. Scanning, not scanning sitting at a machine, but scanning or running the wand, doing whatever they have to do. And if it goes off, you got to detain them. But you need to have some form of training so that they can fill those spots, so people can feel comfortable with them. There's something that you got to do. And I seen something that's going on, so I need to take this because Instagram is freezing up on me again, but I think I know why. So, clarification of their mission is crucial. And even though they can't be on the TSA line, they can't look at the things that's there. They can be part of the solution to whatever's going on. When we want to deploy the National Guard to places, and we want to call up the National Guard unit, bring them out of their normal position. You got TSA agents, why not call them into the area? But you need to define their mission before they go in there. You can use TSA. TSA has a good mission, a good role that it could fulfill across America. It could help with some of the shortage problems that's going on in this country. Yeah, police, every major city in America says that they need somebody, they need help. They don't need it all the time, but they do need help. But if you sending them in and they don't have a clear mission, they're not the police. They're not the military. The only thing the only purpose that they should serve is the backup role in incidents, or going out and being there already. If you need somebody to walk up and down the streets or something like that, define that role. You walk up and down the street. If you see an incident, you pick up your walkie-talkie and you call somebody. But we're not going to put you on the streets with guns with everyday people. We're going to give you a billy club, so then you're responsible. We're going to give you a taser and let you police that way. I'd rather see a person with a billy club and a taser than see a person with a gun because they're scared, and then the first thing they're going to do is pull the gun. If you know that you don't have a gun on your side, you're going to try to talk and talk to the people and get away from whatever's going on. You're not going to try to instigate the situation using your authority. So it is ways in which ICE can be used. And like I said, I figured out what my problem was, and I can't do it no more. So if you see me looking away, I'm trying to keep my notes. My teleprompter is tied into the software that I'm using, so I'm trying to keep my notes. And if I put my teleprompter on top of where I'm at right now, I can tell you it's going to stop it on Instagram. So, when I say ICE can fill those roles, I really mean that. I mean, think about it. I'm just coming up with suggestions off the top of my head, and I thought about it enough to bring it to you. So you can see if I'm telling the truth. It's a lot of ways in which ICE could be deployed, but one of the ways, the way that they're being deployed right now is not. No, it's not right. It's not going to be productive. It's not going to produce good results, because you can't put a person out there on the streets and have them helping somebody, and don't have them focus on a clear mission. They don't have a clear mission. So I'm going to share this with you, and I'm trying to get it copied, because if I put it up there in that form, it freezes up everything else that's going out. So I have to use my technology to do this. So, okay. Like we talked about, and I don't want to double talk, but like we talked about reducing National Guard deployments. But you can't go out there and give them federal authority when they go into another person's city. You have to give the local community the authority over them. You have to relinquish that control as a federal agency. Because not only can think about this, if it's an incident that's big enough, the police can call their people and ICE could call their people and they could resolve the issues a lot faster. But if you call in the military, you have to give them a place to stay and everything else. If ICE is already there walking your streets, they're already part of your crime deterrent in any kind of way that they can, calling in the military should be the last result. But if you're not going to utilize the force that you put in place and you're not going to define their mission, I will say this, and I want to be clear about what I'm saying right now, because this is key and important. If you're going to send them out there in the current capacity in which they're serving now with no rules, no mission, no direction in which to go, don't send them. If you ain't willing to sit down and take the time to redefine or at least listen to some of the suggestions that I'm making, I should not act at no time on the street should they act like they're the police. At no time. And you should give them a mission where it says within that mission, if the police show up and they want to take charge, let them. Let them. You step back your role, you can go. Let me explain this to you. If you got a person detained that you got detained and there's more people getting involved and the police show up, at that point, the person's already detained. If the police come there and they arrest everybody that's there, you can always go pick them up from the jailhouse that they're taking them to. I don't know why people are not using common sense. You can pick them up because the police going to call in enough force to handle the situation. They're going to take them to a place. They're not going to take them to your detention center. They're going to take them to the station and file charges on them. So if they take them to that place, why can't you go in there and pick them up? Let the police do their role and you do your part afterward. I'm just saying. It simplifies things. It makes sense to me. Because it establishes clear boundaries. The police have police have the right to do what they've been doing, what they duty sworn in to do, and if it's taking in people, let them do it. As an ICE agent, you should be able to walk your butt over to that jail and say, "Look, this person doesn't have papers," or they should call you and say, "This person shouldn't even been in this country." Then from that jailhouse, you can prosecute them through the ICE and you won't have no problem. But the way that you're doing it now, you're taking the police out of their job. So you look, everything that you do is going to look bad. I just say hand it to the police immediately. If it's a situation that you can't handle or it's getting out of control and the police show up, as soon as you see the light and enough police support, you should step to the curb like you shouldn't be there. Let them handle it. When they get to a point, either they're going to transport them, the same people that you're trying to get, or they're going to hand them over to you. But if you stepping in and confused and thinking that you're a police officer and you stepping in and confused and thinking that you part of the military, it's not going to help. It's not going to help. That is not what you should be doing. Stop escalating stuff. When you get out there, you're not the police. You're not the king when you hit the street. You're not the drug lord when you hit the street. You are a government agency. Have government rules and regulations to follow. Treat people with respect and you will get the same in return. And if they're not illegal and you detain them, let them go. Let them go. If they're not illegal and you detain them, let them go. Don't try to prosecute the case on the streets. That sounds like I think it was a movie called Judge Dredd. Y'all acting like Judge Dredd. You did everything on the street. You judge, lawyer, and you send them to jail right there on the street. No, you gotta stop that. That's the reason why it's escalating out of control. And then when you get a group of people with guns on the street and they standing there with those guns on their hip, all of a sudden they get this power. They get this power, so they want to escalate things instead of taking it down a notch. That bulldog mentality that you got, that bulldog behavior, it's not going to work. Not here in America. Not here in America. I'm just telling you, you need a defined mission. That bulldog mentality that you're taking into place on the streets and treating normal people like you wouldn't even treat your worst enemy at any other times because you got a badge and a gun on your hip doesn't give you that authority. Doesn't. You got to protect yourself, I understand. But then when the police show up, it ain't about protecting you. You don't want to relinquish the control of where you at. You don't want to give them control. You want to fight with the police and fight with them. How can you're going to always have a problem. And then think about if they deployed the National Guard. Now you're fighting with the police and them, trying to impose your authority. No. When the police show up, it should be a clear definition in your rules of engagement that say, hey, step back. Step back. Let the police handle it. After they get through handling what they're doing, you can again make that trip to the jailhouse and pick up whoever you're trying to detain. If you want to detain somebody in particular, find the person that's in charge out there as a police officer. We need that person right there. But you, as an ICE agent, should step back. Just saying, you don't have no confusion when you're on the street because you build the confusion. Here's the reason why I say that you build the confusion because now you want to impose your authority on the police, and the police know that they have the right to be there, and they know how to deal with the situation. But you want to impose your rights as saying that you're a federal agent with a gun. But I guarantee you, if they take that gun out of your hand and they give you a billy club and they give you a taser, you learn how to talk. You learn how to negotiate. You learn how to de-escalate a situation. Just saying. It's nothing wrong with ICE. It's something wrong with the way that they're being deployed right now. And if you don't understand that, if you can't take that into account as a citizen that's out there, there's something wrong with you. They are not bulldogs. They shouldn't be treating anybody inhumane. They should be going out there treating everybody with respect. When they get a person in their control, they need to feed them, house them, and put them in a livable condition. I'm just saying that's the easy stuff. But if you're out there and you got a few renegades within the groups that's out there, and even the police have some bad apples that think that they're special, they're above the law. They think that they put on this earth to control people. No. And I know that it's happening. If they gave you a form of defense, batons, maybe one of them, like I say, the tasers and the walkie-talkie, you're utilizing the same procedure that London has used forever. And you can be deployed on the streets of any major city, walking up and down the streets. If you get in a situation, you could have a person there with a gun that can respond that you have to call. But I guarantee you, if you got a baton and a taser, and you're in a situation that goes beyond that, it should be some rules of engagement. One of y'all engage and one of y'all don't engage. One person get on the walkie-talkie and they have access to the police. When your call goes out, the police are deployed. But here's the thing that needs to happen. When that police officer gets there, you need to step back and give them the authority to do whatever they're going to do and not interact with them, other than if it's enough of them out there, tell them which people that you want, that you would like to have detained, which people you would like to have turned over to you after they take care of their business. Right now, you're confusing things. The whole effort is confusing. Nobody's trying to resolve the issue. The issue is being pushed to a point where it's going to escalate. Eventually, One of those agencies is going to end up shooting the other one. And then you're going to have to resolve what's going on. Why wait till you get there? You see it's happening right now as y'all being deployed across the USA. One of y'all going to cross paths. And then one of them going to pull out a gun. You know what police are trained to do when a person pulls out a gun on them? It starts with asking questions later. So you got one group of people over here pulling out their guns. You got the other group over here pulling out their guns. What do you think that's going to escalate to? Y'all not even, at that point, you're not even worried about the people that you were trying to detain. So unless you clear that up, right up front, when that police officer, when you hear that siren and they actually hit the scene, the ICE agents need to step back. Now, the only way that the ICE agents come back out, if you see the situation escalating where the officer or officers can't handle it, then you have the ability to come in and help them. But at no particular point in time, and if they don't ask you, you have no rights at that scene. Just throwing it out there. I'm trying to break it down where everybody can understand. And many countries and have used this form of protection on the street without guns. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna draw you an example right here. Houston had tried to do this at one time, and I've seen it. They had an accident on the freeway or on the side roads. They had people that were interacting with the general public before the officers even got there. They had people that were within that area. Maybe they were serving the same roles as you are, but they didn't have guns or anything like that. When they came to the scene, their objective was to control the traffic, keep people out of the police business, and let the police do what they do. Too many times when you see scenes on even movies or on TV, one police officer has to step away from the scene to control the crowd. That's the role that ICE could play. That's another role, but you have to be able to relinquish authority when your police gets there. A person shouldn't have to be questioned by you, and then questioned by you and questioned by the police. Then both of y'all trying to figure out who's got jurisdiction here. The police always have jurisdiction. If you can get that through your head and they can write it up in your books any kind of way that they want to, give the police authority, less complication. Stop trying to intimidate people. You're not that big bulldog that you think you are. You're not, and if you continue to misuse people the way that you are, kill people or shoot people, thinking that you're above the law, that you have immunity, let me help you to something. Let me help you to something. The current administration ain't gonna be there that long. The rules that are enforced right now may not be there. But if you put yourself in a position where you did something illegal or immoral, or you misused somebody in any kind of way, you can be held accountable for it. You don't think police officers can be sued after they found guilty of a crime? And most of y'all don't think so, because you got this thing that says, they told me what I could do and what I can't do. Well, you have to figure that things change after a while. Eventually, something changes. And when it does, guess what? You're going to be stuck out. That's why I say rules of engagement, how you handle the situation. When police come up, one of y'all got to step back. And the one that has the most power, I think, when they come up, it's the police. You're trying to send them out of the country, get them on the airplane, provide all the rest of this stuff, and then you don't want to take care of them. You don't have the proper housing to take care of them. But here's the problem with the police. I'm coming to an end. The police process them. Here's the other part. I'm trying to get to it. Police stay available to help the city with high-risk situations. Police stay available where they can call them and police can be deployed. And I said this earlier, any city, any major city within the United States of America, any major city out there needs police officers. But if they had you to assist them in your role, because you're already there, occupying the space, sitting in non-marked cars, rolling up on people, why do that when you can help the police? Not help them, but assist them or defer to them when you have a situation that you can't handle, and know when they hit the ground, when they come up there, that they have more authority than you. That way you de-escalate the situation and let them get it under control. And once they get it under control, you tell them, you step back into the scene. Hey, I need this person, this person, this person. If they're not being detained for a crime, can I take them? And if they are being detained for a crime, you take their name and their number. They're gonna take them to wherever they gotta take them, and then you can pick them up from there. That's a clear mission. That's a clear task for you, not to get in a confrontation with everybody. You know, when maybe you have the ability to detain them. I can't disagree with that. You detain them. If the police come up and they question them and they let them go, you should have enough information from them to know where to go get them after them. But anytime the police show up, it needs to be clear that the police have the authority. That's where a lot of your confusion coming in. A lot of it. Even though you're in the process of detaining people, if the police show up, you need to step back. Your leadership should tell you to step back because they're putting you in danger. That helped clear up a lot of this. You know, here's another thing that ICE could be deployed in. They talking about the jails. The jails, they can't hire enough officers. They can't do this. Why not? If you got officers, if you got ICE out there, why not put them in overcrowded jails as watchmen? Allow the jailers or police officers to do their duty and deploy some of them in the jails. That's multiple missions that you can do. Multiple missions that you can do. That you can be a watchman too, that stop overcrowded prisons. Maybe you could substitute where they can't put an officer where they don't have as much crime in prisons as they do. You know, I'm just throwing it out there. Now, whether or not your agency want to see how you deserve, if you deserve a place in America, yeah, it's a place for you, but you need clear definition. And those are a couple of places, prisons especially, that you can be in. And you could be in the prison in the process of, you know, if they got an illegal alien in there and you need a legal person that's not from this country with proper paperwork, you at that point you already set up there. But you still need to respect where you're at. You're not above them. You're not above the military. When they show up, you got to step back. The only thing we're asking you to do is watch, monitor, report, maintain the order and the presence of you being there. Intervene only when absolutely necessary. You need clear rules of engagement when you get to that point. Clear, very clear. ICE is focused on whatever they want to be focused on right now. They don't have a clear rule of engagement. They don't have none of that. They know they think that they know how to handle immigrants. They don't. because if they did, they wouldn't be in any of the incidents that they in that makes national media. And the real reason why they get in trouble when they get to the streets is because they don't have a clear, defined mission when they get there. They don't know when to stop, when to step back, and let the true authorities handle the situation where they're at. And it's another case where you could handle the situation. Now I'm gonna make an example right here. If you deploy to a place where let's just say a home building site, a new neighborhood or something like that, and you're the only agency that's out there, at that point you do have authority. But let me tell you something: it's the rules still stay the same. If you want to keep peace, if somebody call the police thinking that you're part of a gang that's out there trying to harass those people, when the police show up, let them take charge. Unless you want to become NFL running backs where you out chasing everybody that's out there, and most of y'all don't look like y'all could catch anybody. I'm not talking about you. I'm just telling you the truth. Most of you guys don't look like you could chase anybody. So what you do instead of chasing them is you got that little thing on the side of you, and you want to pull it out and make it chase them. But then you want the rules to back you up if you shoot them. Never should, never will. They shouldn't back you up in America. Even police officers don't have that same rule. If the situation escalates to a point where you need immediate help, call the police. That's what normal citizens do. Call the police. And if you got somebody that you can't detain, park a vehicle in front of them, do whatever you have to do by whatever means necessary. But the last thing that you should do is pull that pistol off your side. And the only people that should have pistols is probably somebody that's had training before. They putting y'all out there, and y'all, I don't know what type of training y'all go through. They even have a probation period for police officers. I haven't heard anything for ICE agents at this point. You got to have some rules in place, or you end up with this bad reputation. And that's my sole purpose is saying tonight is to show you that there is some roles that you can fill if you just accept them. Stop. I don't know what happened during this era. And I'm going to say it clearly where you can understand. The last year, everything is out of whack. Everything, from the top to the bottom. Nobody has a clear definition of what's going on because the people that probably was in the role that could tell you are either gone or retired. Me and my cousin's husband, every time we see each other, we have this saying, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. And that's the thing that I would tell ICE agents. Until you got a clear definition of what's going on, stay in your lane. I guarantee that one of your objectives is not to shoot somebody running away from you. I guarantee you one of your objectives is not to shoot into a car at any time. Shoot into a car, not knowing who's in there, what's in there, kids or whatever. I guarantee that's not your objective. Sometimes you just got to let go. There's enough Rambos in this world, and it's a lot of dead Rambos out there. And one of these days, y'all gonna run up on the right police officers that's out there, and they're gonna engage you. And when they engage you, you're gonna have a problem because they're gonna tell you who's in charge and who's got the authority. While you fighting, saying, I got this police on the back of my shirt. I'm gonna go back and try to find that flyer, but that doesn't give you the ability to run over people. You're useful. You're so useful. if put into the right perspective. But you don't have clear boundaries. You don't have none of that. And since I can't do what I really want to do, I want to just kind of make sure that I covered everything. And once I make sure that I covered everything, I want to leave you with this. I want to leave you with this. I need you to understand this. ICE fulfills a lot of they could fill a lot of non-military support roles during surges. It keeps the National Guard available for true emergencies. They could, I mean, just think about it. National Guard comes in, they're soldiers. Their mission is kill and destroy. You put them in the streets, yeah, they can train them where their mission is a little bit different, but why do that when you have an agency that's there? Non-lethal tools, I mentioned that. ICE transfer point for low-threat prisoners or whatever, low-threat people. You can become transportation for them. I mean, it's so many ways in which you can engage and make this better. And it's not happening. It's not happening. So I've been trying to get this up, so don't think I'm doing something because I turned my head away. I just don't want to leave this place without giving you some things that I want to go over. And since it's coming up on 1 hour, I'm not going to go any further, and I've been rambling a while, but I need to just get this. I'm not saying that I have any authority over anybody that I'm talking about right now, but the stuff that I have been saying kind of gives you a direction in some of the problems that's going on with ICE that could be corrected if somebody took the time to sit down and maybe listen and know that the conflicts which are out there. Accountability and mission needs to be redefined. You need a clear mission. You need clear limits. You need clear training. You need clear consequences of your action. One of the first things they should teach you and teach you without a doubt, without anything else, nobody is above the law, and that includes ICE agent. It may seem like it now, but it ain't gonna be forever. America doesn't need to get rid of ICE. They need to define ICE and give them some rules to follow. A modern country such as America needs modern roles, modern tools. The shortages in those areas that I mentioned earlier, the police department, maybe even in the prison system, maybe in the TSA, but you need to redefine what they have the ability to do when they're there. But they could be a tool in those areas, just not as they're being deployed now, because you put some bulldogs and renegades in places and they still think within their mind that they have more authority than everybody else. The mayors are fighting you and the governors are fighting you because you don't give clear definition to what's already there. If you're in a position where you need an officer, where you need a citizen, where you need to understand that the situation is bigger than you, call the police. But once the police arrive, you need to step back from your capacity because at that point, you need to stand on the curb and only use if necessary. If that officer's in trouble, you can go up there and assist him. But if that officer has it under control, when he gets there, he can come back and brief you after he gets his situation or he gets the person detained or in his car, and then he can come back and tell you, look, I got this. I'm going to tell you where I'm taking them, and you can pick him up from there. Clear. Mission, purpose, and your role. Understood without a doubt. I've been trying to stay on track. The reason why I've been trying to stay on track is because one of the things that, let's see if I can get off to the side because you see that word back there? It's called truth. If you don't give the American people truth, and have them feel that you have a defined role, they're going to turn their back on you, just like they're doing right now. You need to define your role. You need to be able to fill other positions. And if you could fill those other positions that I mentioned, you can kind of rebuild your reputation. Because ultimately, we're here to serve that flag and people. And those people have liberties and justice is awarded to them. But they have the right to be a citizen, have the right to be a person first. This is not a third world country. This is a country of citizens and rights. And unless you can enforce them, unless you have the ability to enforce them, your authority might not be in that area. You need to let the police do their job. With that, I'm going to say that, and I'm going to get out of here. I hope that this goes out and somebody gets some encouragement or some ideas. I'm not trying to tell you how to run your agency, but I am telling you to put some boundaries on it. I am telling you to define who has the authority in certain situations, so you don't put yourself in situations that in the patterns in which you're following now. The media is showing you in a bad light, but unless you change that, you're not serving no purpose. So I'm going to close out like I always do. I say, thank God, thank God, thank God, because I don't care what you got to say at a certain point. God is in control of all of this. God is in control of all of this. And you may get the freedom of whatever crime that you committed against a person on the streets. Just remember, there's a higher authority out there. Good night, goodbye. And if you took the time to listen in, I'm glad. Keep following me, because I'm going to continue to bring stuff like this. It's a lot of people out there bringing their own message and doing different things. I want to go in between there. I want to find out how can we be better as a nation, touch on some of the things that make us better. There's enough people out there telling you what's going on in the war out there. And every once in a while I might get into it, but I'm not. Most of the time I'm going to get into my own area like this to help make America better. We got citizens out there that's wearing guns that need to know their authorities and the ability, what they have the ability to do. All right, I'm out. Byron Glass, I'm going to shoot him one of your signs. I'm going to say, deuces. I enjoyed you. Bye.